There we go.
Okay, so today I just want to do a start off with just a quick update on my hiking plans. First of all, today's video is mainly going to be about my running and predicting my time for my race next week. But as far as my hiking, I think I mentioned in the last video that there's lots of different hikes that I want to be doing in the very near future, and the things that are weighing heavily, but probably what's weighing most heavily on my mind is when am I going to get back on the Appalachian Trail, and that doesn't look like it's going to happen within the next year anyway. But there's a couple of trails. There's actually several trails that I'm thinking about, but the two at the top of the list are the Fisherman's Trail in Portugal, and then the other one is possibly going back and making another attempt at hiking the Tour du Mont Blanc. So probably next spring, early summer, next time, 2026, odds are I'll be doing one of those two trails. So, all right, so I don't want to, this video is really about my running right now, so let's get to that. And yeah, actually, before once I decided that I was going to hike the Tour du Mont Blanc, I knew that would be a very challenging hike. So I actually started, picking up my physical training a bit, which including, doing more hiking and going up and down the hills here in San Miguel de Allende, but also increasing my running. And so around March or April, I've always considered myself a runner, but to be perfectly honest, for the last several years, I haven't been doing that much. It's all just sort of been recreational running and very inconsistent. There were probably months at a time when I would go without doing any run at all. On a good week, it would probably just be a couple of runs. And the running I was doing, it was just purely recreational, just to start the day off right, to get the metabolism going and feel good for the rest of the day. And it definitely was not any kind of running where I was doing any kind of planning, race planning. So starting in March, I started, first of all, just picking up my mileage and running more consistently, and but also with training for a race in mind. So I started at that time, instead of just going out and running whatever I felt like at a real casual pace and minimal distance, I started actually mixing up my running a lot. Trying to at least one day a week do something that would be considered kind of a long run, although it at that point a long run wasn't really very long at all for me because I hadn't been doing long runs, and then maybe some interval running, if I felt like picking up the pace for the next quarter mile or half mile or so, but just as a way to vary it. And then I actually started seeing a lot of people have been talking about how important it is to do actually most of your running in zone 2, and I thought, okay, let me see if I can get a lot more miles in zone 2. And that's when I found out that actually running in zone 2 is kind of hard for me. Even when I'm out just doing those sort of casual recreational types of runs, I tended to be running more in zone 3. And so it was really difficult for me trying to figure out, how can I run, in zone 2 and, feel like I'm doing something. So that's what, what I started thinking about. But but the reason I started picking up my running was, like I said, to get in better shape for the Tour du Mont Blanc. But once I started picking it up, I thought, what, maybe I will, would like to, start running some races again. 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, I was running a lot of races, and running was actually my thing then, more so than hiking. And but it had been so long, I thought, well, you know what, maybe I'll sign up for a race. And since I've lived here in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico now for going on 2 years, and I thought, well, let's see what kind of races are going on around here. And it just so happens that this December, the Rock and Roll Half Marathon will be held in Mexico City. So I thought, let me sign up for that. I figured I was, back in March or April, whenever I decided I was going to do that. I knew I wasn't in any shape to be running a half marathon, but I figured, this is several months and I have time to get in shape for that. So that's also what was sort of in the back of my mind. And then eventually I did indeed sign up for the Rock and Roll Half Marathon in Mexico City. And so I started training, especially once I got back from hiking the Tour du Mont Blanc. I started really focusing my training on ultimately getting ready to run that half marathon in December. So, and then I decided, it's been, I'm not sure. I think the last half marathon I ran was actually in 2018. So that's, what is this? That was like 7 years ago since I ran my last half marathon. And I think I may have run a few 5 or 10K races, after that. But it's definitely been several years since I've done any kind of racing or trained for any kind of a race. So I decided, maybe I ought to go ahead and just sign up for a little race just to sort of get into the racing mindset. So a few weeks ago, I signed up to run just a little 5K in Dallas, Texas, and I'll fly up there and see some family and some friends while I'm up there and run that. And it'll give me a really good chance to sort of gauge, what I can expect to do in this half marathon come December. So, all right. So since I've signed up for that 5K, I've taken my training a little more seriously. My training is really kind of intuitive. I know what you should do, mix things up, long runs, interval runs, easy runs, things like that. Mix it up a little bit, some hill workouts, and and that's what I just sort of like do intuitively. I know that at least once a week I'll try to do a longer run, and then I'm really concentrating now on getting in a lot of those zone 2 runs, and then some speed workouts here and there, interval works or hill workouts, that kind of stuff. Just sort of mix that in, whenever I feel it's appropriate. And also now, especially at my age, really working in a recovery time is really important, especially once you get to be my age. So I started doing that, but I've been thinking, what can I expect to run in not just the half marathon coming up in December, but what should I expect to happen in what kind of time should I expect to run this 5K in next week? And when I first started, predicting times, I was thinking, well, about the average time for somebody my age, a male runner my age, is, people are saying between 35 and 40 minutes. And so I thought, well, okay, maybe a good goal time. A few weeks ago, I was thinking, if I can get up there and run that thing in 35 minutes, I'll feel good about myself. So that was kind of a penciled in goal time for me, race prediction for me. And but since then, I've been doing more running and doing a little bit of speed workout, and I've got a little bit better idea on what I can expect for that. I had a couple weeks ago, I was really focusing on that zone 2 running, so that wasn't ideal for me to sort of get an idea on how I can predict what this race is going to be. But last Thursday this is Saturday, okay. Last Thursday I decided to do a little tempo run, and I started off just by running to warm up. I ran a mile, just tried to keep it in zone 2, and then I decided to pick it up after that first mile and try to get myself up into zone 4 and do some threshold running. So I took off, and I ultimately ran just a little over 4 miles. And my overall pace for that was 11 minutes and 10 seconds. However, that included my zone 2, very slow, snail-like zone 2 warm-up for the first mile. So once my watch told me I was beginning my second mile, I decided to pick it up and run closer to that tempo pace. And ultimately, for that mile 2, I ended up running that at 10 minutes and 22 seconds. And then mile 3, pretty close to the same, 10 minutes and 19 seconds. and then at mile 4 ended up being 10 minutes and 15 seconds. And my so yeah, so that those, and it just so happens that that was 3 miles, and a 5K race is just 0.1 more than 3 miles. It's 3.1 miles. So I thought, that ought to give me a pretty good idea. I ran that, and I was running in zone 4. I could tell I was breathing heavy, but I actually felt like I had a little left in the tank once I had finished that 4th mile. And so that if you add up the total, the average pace for those last 3 miles, miles 2, 3, and 4, it comes to 30 minutes and 56 seconds. So, but that's just 3 miles, and it's not 3.1 miles. So if you take the average pace for those 3 miles was 10 minutes and about 19 seconds. So if you take about 10% of that, the average pace, and add it to that 30.56, it says that I would have, I essentially ran a 5K in 31 minutes and about 58 seconds, so 32 minutes. So, and that's considerably better than, the 35 that I had originally predicted. And before I ran this race, I could tell that I was doing it much better. So I was thinking that my predicted race time of 33 minutes might be pretty good. But based upon this, maybe I should be thinking about 32 minutes. So, but there are other factors to consider when you're predicting your race time. And there's a couple of things working in my favor, but a couple of things also working against me that I want to talk about that could that might affect this 32 minutes. Maybe possibly if some things work in my favor, I could possibly do it a little bit quicker than that. But there's a couple of other bigger factors really that could work against me. But let's talk about the good news first. The good news is that I live here in San Miguel de Allende, and up on a ridge that's actually about 500 feet higher than what San Miguel de Allende is. And so I live at about 6,500 feet in altitude, 6,500 feet in altitude, and my runs that on the trails that I do usually are. Actually, I think I live a little bit higher than 65 because my when you look at the elevation charts from when I run around near where I live, the elevation charts will tell you that I'm the lowest I am is like 6,500 and something, and then I get up over 6,700 feet in altitude. So that's the altitude that I've been running at, and the altitude in Dallas is only like 450 feet, something like that. So I'll be losing, just a bit over 6,000 feet in altitude. And so it's essentially like I've been doing altitude training here. But I don't really know how that would ultimately affect me. So essentially I got on ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT, what I could expect in terms of that affecting my race time. Going down 6,000 feet. And according to ChatGPT, that only makes about a 2% difference. And so for somebody like me, that's not a big difference. The professional athletes, when they, go to altitude and do altitude training, they're, 2% is a big deal to them. Now, I mean, it boils down to just a few seconds. It boils down to just a few seconds, but for them, a few seconds can make the difference between winning a race or not, and because they're running, if it's a 5K, they're going to be running well below 20 minutes, closer to 15 minutes, is what these more elite athletes are going to be doing. So, but I can, according to ChatGPT, about a 2% increase. So and that boils down to about 30 seconds, something like that, of an improvement. But I've been doing my running here, and I'm not really sure how to sort of calculate for this, but most of my running, probably, at least 70% of it is on dirt roads, uneven uneven terrain with rocks and things like that, and then the next portion of it is actually on trails. That's even a little bit more difficult, and occasionally from time to time I'm even running across some cobblestones, and very little of my running in the areas that I've been running is actually on something that would be considered relatively smooth pavement. So I think having better terrain to run on, a smooth paved surface will give me a few extra seconds too. So so those are the things that I think will be working in my favor once I get to Dallas. However, there are a couple of other things that are probably going to make a bigger difference, and that's temperature. One of the nice things about living here in the mountains in central Mexico is that the temperature year-round rarely goes below the 40s and rarely goes above the 80s. And the temperatures that I've been running at have been around in the 60s and low 70s while I'm here. Now in Dallas, who knows what the temperature is going to be in Dallas when I get there? It could end up being triple digits in August in Dallas. So I looked at what the weather prediction for Dallas for next week, and fortunately they're not predicting extremely high temperatures, but they are expecting it to get up into the 90s. But the race is scheduled to start off in the morning, and so the best guess I can make as far as what the temperature will be is that it's going to be hopefully a little below 90 degrees in the mid to upper 80s, and so that's going to be about at least 10 if not 15 degrees or more increase in temperature for me. And temperature affects your running a lot more than altitude actually, and according to ChatGPT I can expect that to have about a 4 to 6% impact on my running, slowing me down by anywhere from 4 to 6%. So that's definitely going to negate the probable 2% advantage I will have gained from running here at altitude. So so that 32 minutes, I think when I originally took it down from my prediction from 35 to 33, I think that was probably a pretty good guess, depending upon how all these things work out. But you know what? I'm going to set a goal, and it looks like we might have some rain moving in, so I'm going to have to hurry up with my video. But I know I had a teacher or a coach or something back in the day, and it's starting to sprinkle a little bit, so I'm going to have to really, really hurry up. Who I don't know. I was talking about setting the goals, and he was explaining to me that setting the goals is an important thing, and you have to do it right. Now I could set a goal, and I could probably maybe set my goal. I know I can do it in 35 minutes, so I can say, okay, I'm going to say my goal time. Rain is coming. I'm going to have to move indoors. Okay, I think I can stay dry now. Let's see. I think I was talking about some advice that I got in my youth when I was young from either a teacher or a coach. About how to properly set goals. And this teacher, no, get back. You got to be good. This teacher, I can't really even remember what teacher or coach it might have been, told me that, if you really want to set successful goals that are ultimately going to make you a better person, whether it's an athletic goal or academic goal or personal goals, whatever, this teacher told me that you need to make sure that it's a challenging goal, and it can't be something that you can do. I could set a really easy goal for this 5K race, and I think if I said something like, let me say 38 minutes. My goal is to finish this race in 38 minutes, and according to the running that I'm doing now, I'm doing well under that, and so it would be really easy and hardly no doubt at all that I would probably meet that goal, and so that wouldn't be a very useful goal. A goal should be challenging if you want to use that goal to actually help you do your best. But there's you can also it was really interesting. This teacher was saying that there's another end to that as well. First of all, if you want to set a goal and you want to really hold to it, the best thing to do is to share your goals. Let other people know what your goals are, and so that they can hold you accountable. And if you don't, if you decide to not work hard enough to reach that goal, then you sort of lose face, and so you're not really putting yourself on the line if you set the goal too easy. But another way to sort of cop out on that is just the opposite, to set a totally unrealistic goal. So a totally unrealistic goal for me, would be, okay, well, I intend to win this race. I don't care who's running it. There's probably going to be some, 23-year-old elite athlete out there that's going to be doing, running it in 16 seconds or something or 16 minutes, something like that. And so if I set a goal to actually win this race, come in first overall in all age groups and everything, that would be a totally unrealistic goal. But if I told everybody, hey, I'm going out there to win it, that's my goal, then obviously I'm not going to. But nobody really expected me to. So setting a goal that is something that you think there's a pretty good chance you will be able to do it, but only if you really put forth a sincere effort. And so setting a time that you might not be able to make, but not so much of a goal that it's totally out of your reach. So that's what I intend to do, and I'm telling all of you right now what it should be. And so when you factor in all those other things like the heat, altitude, and there was one other factor that I said is probably going to be working against me a little bit too. In addition to going up to Dallas to run this race, I'm going to be up there for a total of 4 days, and I've got family up there, and my sister sort of has plans for me the day before and even the evening before the race, and so I'm probably not going to be. Probably going to be under a little bit more stress, maybe have to be out a little bit later than I should be on the night before, probably eating some food and stuff like that. That's not the most ideal. So that could be working against me. The biggest thing, my biggest fear is just ended up being out too late and not getting a good night's rest before the race. So that's could end up working against me as well. So, but I think if you factor in all those, the feedback I got from ChatGPT about altitude and temperature and stuff like that, it was my original prediction, well, not my original, but my first, when I first changed my prediction from 35 minutes to 33 minutes, according to ChatGPT, that was actually a pretty good guess. But like I said, I feel like I had a little bit more left in my tank, after that last run. I did another run this morning. I did a little over 8 miles this morning, at a fairly low, easy run for the first 6 miles. And then the last 2 miles, I actually picked it up to that threshold time and faster than what my predicted time would actually be for my 5K. So, but that was just 2 miles too. So I think I'm going to put some pressure on myself, and I'm going to set my goal at 32 minutes. That's a whole minute faster than what sort of the math and everything was telling me. But like I said, I haven't really been, these training runs haven't been races. I'm not going to have the adrenaline, the excitement going from the race, and I think that. Once I get to, that last half mile, once I've run the first 2.5 miles and I'm heading into that last half mile, if I'm, I don't have to worry about whether or not I've got anything left in the tank once I finish that last half mile. So, it's hard and it's painful and, you feel like you're being waterboarded, and, struggling for every breath. But if I decide that, I'm going to give it my all, I think that 32 minutes is a goal that I might be able to do. So that's how I have set my goals and my predicted time for next week's 5K up in Dallas. So stay tuned and we'll see how that goes.
There we go.